I guess, or the extended episode of the return back from the All-Star break and the trade deadline. We are your hosts. This is the Lob It Up Podcast. Tobias, Sivash, and Chris. Boys, I already know how you're doing, and we're going to get into the take of the week. But I think I want to start maybe with where we had ended off on the last episode, Sivash. We were talking about... Why am I forgetting this literally right
Joel
now?
Embiid,
What were we talking
and
about
how
again?
the big man has changed the league.
Thank you. Yeah. So, MVP's coming up. Obviously, there's a couple, probably about 4 guys that are in mention, maybe 5. But maybe just talk on that and talk on the MVP, the race that is right now.
For our listeners that are listening to this episode first, please go back and check out the last episode. We're kind of picking up from a conversation we're told brought up how Joel Embiid and the big men nowadays are kind of making a comeback from the last few years where the whole big man role was gone and that people were trying to do small ball, and how Joel Embiid is going to be defended in the playoffs. And I said I kind of wanted to save this for the MVP conversation. And I'm going to mix this up with my take of the week. We're going to get to that at some point too. But I think with the MVP conversation right now, some of the biggest guys right now up there are Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, and DeRozan.
Yeah, those are the 4 guys that come to mind for me. There's one more, but those are the 4.
Chris Paul, John Morant, those guys are there. Steph, he's around there. Chris, I don't know if you think of any other names that I haven't mentioned, but if you do.
No, I think you pretty much,
we're not putting Chris Boucher in the talks again. So
not Pascal.
No, for MVP, you have all of them. What some people saying still like Jimmy Butler, Luka still.
Luka's doing his thing. Those are good names. Thank you for bringing those up as well. Yeah, this is what Devin Booker. I think Chris Paul might deserve a little bit more.
We can touch on that, but I would take Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul's more important.
Because I think that's the damage that they have on each other is that both of them are so good that if you pick one, it's like the other one's also helping, so you can't pick any of them, right? It's like the whole Steph and KD and with the Warriors.
I wouldn't be able to do that. I think we talked about it before. I don't know if it was like for this MVP, but I had mentioned I have trouble voting when there's 2 guys that are doing something on one team. I have trouble giving that award to one person. Maybe it was with Chris Paul last year because I think we had the conversation again with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. But I need that guy to be that guy.
Yeah. Okay. So with that conversation, I want to mix our last conversation with the big man making a return. I think we're getting to a good age of analytics. In the past 5 to 7 years, the big man rule has been going downhill because of the game changing, the spacing, and the 3-point shooting. Having a big man that can't shoot, having a big man that can't move as quickly has been a damaging role. We saw with guys like Andre Drummond, who at the start of his career had a very promising career with being an All-NBA player with all-star nods. But then now he's become a guy who is good for that perfect 20 minutes a game, but he might not be able to get a max contract anymore, even though he was a top 5 center a few years ago. I think we're getting to a point where the center position is a bit different. I think after the top 7 to 10, there's a big drop off that you can fill up that position with anybody else. But that top 7 to 10 are the big difference makers today.
And let me express, in my opinion, at least, there's a big difference because I guess it depends on who you put in that top 7. But just thinking about these 2 guys, for example, and I know that there's a difference between them, but let me explain. There's a difference between Joel Embiid and Robert Williams. Joel Embiid is a 7-foot center that can pass, score, rebound, block, steal. He can do everything. Robert Williams can do things, but again, there's a difference between a 7-foot center that can do all of that. And you know me, I'm a traditionalist when it comes to my size.
Of course. Pause. But when we look at it, you got Embiid, Jokic, Gobert, Cat, Aiden. I'm missing somebody else. I think Capello's up there. Vucevic.
Wow.
We get to 7, dude. Yeah, we get to 7, 10. Even let's say Robert Williams. I'm really trying to think of all these players, but it's around 7 to 10 at most.
I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. is honestly creeping his way in terms of a defensive aspect, creeping his way into a big conversation. I know he plays 4, but
right. But then that's the thing. After that, there's a big drop off. You can fill in those positions with whoever. Look at the Hornets. They just traded a bunch of guys to get Montrez. Let's be honest, Montrez is not going to be that difference maker. Miles Turner might be one of those 10 guys, but he's good at his own position. So with that said, I think we're getting to a good age of analytics where we're finally finding those like perfect usages for these players that are good at what they are good at. And relating back to the MVP conversation, my biggest problem today is that we're focusing on what some players can't do more than we focus on what they should be able to do.
Okay. So instead of like taking away from them, that we should more so look at how they're contributing.
Exactly. You look at a guy like Demar Derozan. The past 6 to 7 years, this guy's got to shoot. If this guy can't shoot, they're not going to be able to do anything. Now he's thriving off not shooting a three-pointer and just playing in that mid-range, taking that efficient shot for him. But if you go with analytics, the past few years, don't take a mid-range shot because it's not efficient. It's not efficient. For anybody that doesn't understand analytics, and I'm going to go over it as quickly as possible, the analytics goes off of the probability of a shot going in and its closeness to the basket, and then how many points you can get with those probabilities. So the shot at the basket is most worth it because anybody that plays basketball has a better shot at making a shot at the basket than 5 feet out, 10 feet out, 20 feet out. So then you have the chance of getting fouled. Then you come out to, as you get further, the chances and the efficiency goes down until you get to the 3-point line because you get more points by shooting a shot that is like 1 feet out than that other shot. So that's where with analytics, they don't like mid-range shots. They don't like deep twos. And you saw with the Harden, with the Rockets, where Harden was a point guard, they never took a 2-point. It was always 3 or going to the basket. But now we're getting to that perfect age of analytics where every shot has its worth. Chris Paul shooting mid-ranges. Devin Booker shooting mid-ranges. DeMar is thriving off that, putting up 35 points a game. I think we're getting that good time. And I don't know what you guys' thoughts on that.
Well, it'll two things. It'll be good because it's the 90s game when the game of basketball was invented. The way to score was the mid-range. So you're bringing back that traditional side of basketball while also having this new era of the Steph Curry 3. So I like it. I think in terms of this stuck in my mind, so I'm just gonna say it's a shout out to Chris because I don't think Steve Ash you'll get the reference, but when Nathan Scott finally got signed by the Charlotte Bobcats in One Tree Hill, Jamie Lucas Scott, Nathan's son, said, just shoot more than threes. A 3 is worth more than 2. Just shoot more than 3s. So obviously, I mean, everybody understands that a 3 is more than 2. So it's just interesting to me because I'm much more of an eye test guy. It's interesting to me that the analytics say no mid-ranges because you talked about the measurement and the equation. It's about the closest to the basket. So I just found that interesting, but I guess there's more bodies in the paint and more bodies around the mid-range, which makes it more difficult to shoot.
It just makes it less worth it to shoot because you
the higher risk
as close to the basket and you can get fouled and you can have a better percentage of shooting at the basket until you get to the 3-point line. Then that shot is actually worth it because if you shoot 40% from 3-point line, points per possession gets to, I believe, somewhere like 1.25 or something like that. Those analytics guys, listen, I'm not part of that. I think I've actually hated analytics for some time.
I was going to say, you're definitely, out of this podcast, you're the analytics rep, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Out of the 3 of us, probably. But if you talk to me and going back to our MVP conversation, I remember having this convo with somebody who I was saying, look, DeMar is right there in this convo. Yeah. DeMar and Embiid, to me, are like right there. Now, we can take away, look, what Embiid has done, what DeMar hasn't done. And the guy was trying to tell me, like, oh, Embiid rebounds better than DeMar. DeMar is a 6'6" shooting guard. Like, that's different. Oh,
that's Embiid where I go. That's where I go. I've just mentioned in the past, like it's difficult to compare eras, but it's also difficult to compare positions, especially when you're talking. I get it, DeMar can play the 4 sometimes, but like, especially if you're talking about a guard and a forward or a guard and a big. You know what I mean? Like a guard and a big, like that. Of course, he's not going to rebound. Like there's a stat, something about Like a point guard could average 5.5 rebounds. I think it's Jimmy High Roller that did it. He did a whole video on, he did a whole video on Mike versus LeBron. But the point I'm trying to make, I'm not talking about Mike versus LeBron. I'm talking about the position average, right? Where it's like no, but it's like if LaMelo Ball averaged 6.5 rebounds a game, averaged 7 rebounds. I'm thinking in sports betting terms. Sorry. If LaMelo Ball averaged 7 rebounds a game, and Karl Anthony Towns averaged 4 rebounds a game, Karl Anthony Towns averaged 7 rebounds a game. Karl Anthony Towns, in terms of numerics, yeah, he has more rebounds, but LaMelo's a better rebounder because he's a guard. He doesn't play that position, and he has almost equal to rebounds in terms of chances that Cat would have. Does that make sense? Did I explain that right? It's like LaMelo has less time in the paint. However,
but he's almost grabbing just as many boards. Exactly. Yeah.
So therefore, by analytics or stats, LaMelo is a better rebounder. So to get what your point, where you're getting, I'm sorry to be long-winded and steal your thunder here, Steve Ash, but it's the point of comparing positions on stats when it has no weight.
Again, and this goes back to last year's MVP race. Again, Embiid was injured, and that's fair. But people had Jokic better than Embiid for the analytics, but also the fact that he could facilitate and move the ball. That's something, again, I'm going to throw this to Chris. How would you feel if you're playing your best at what you're great at, and somebody else is doing almost as good as that, but they're also doing something else? Should you be taken down a step because you're not doing what he's doing because he's doing everything? Or you should be celebrated like, hey, this guy's playing his best and they're the best team in the league, versus this other guy who's playing almost as good, but he's doing something extra, but that's not what the position is asking for. 10 years ago, if a center had like,
so let's use it. Let's use it as a point guard. Let's use it as a point guard, and let's use the stat of blocks, because how often does a block
or rebounds, triple threat,
very rare,
triple doubles.
Yeah. So then use that. Whatever, like LaMelo Ball does grab rebounds, so you use LaMelo Ball. So LaMelo has 7 rebounds, and Ja has 3 rebounds, but Ja's got 28 points a game.
And
LaMelo
Ja's
only
a higher
got 16
seed.
points. Yeah.
Like, how do we view that, right? Like with what was it? With Russ, like Russ got a triple double, automatic like MVP. It's like
that's what it was. Thank you. Sorry, I'm sorry to cut. I remember what the thing was.
What was the thing?
The thing I have to announce on the podcast. All right, I don't bring it up on the podcast.
All right, announce it later. But yeah, like, are we going to view Russ now as a better player because he can rebound better than the next player, but the next player is doing better than him? Like, again, that same season, James Harden and the Rockets were a better seed. James Harden was doing as good as Russ, but Russ got it because he was averaging a triple-double.
That's the comparable. The James and Russell. That's a good comparable because they're both the exact same position. You're right. They have their own team. You're right. Same conference. But as a point guard, the job is to facilitate and to score. You're not really counted on to be a rebounder as a point guard. However, like you said, Russ averaged a triple-double and he was rebounding, and James Harden's rebounds, I'm sure, were decent, probably 7 or 8 rebounds, but they weren't what Russell's were. However, I'm sure the points accumulated were higher with James Harden. I don't know. That's a tough question.
It's tough, right? Question. Because it's like you look at it as if, like, yes, the James Harden and Russ, it's like, maybe Russ is grabbing more boards, doing some extra stuff that, like, you're not really expecting a player in his position to do, but then it's not something that you would want as like an organization or for something from your team, because it's like, yes, maybe Russ isn't scoring as many points, but he's kind of making up for that in other categories, and it's
I think the Jokic example is a bit difficult because Jokic is actually like making his team miles better than what they could have been if he was just a back to the basket guy, or he was just a bucket getter. Like, if you really watch, I think back to the series from last year where they played the Portland Trailblazers. Jokic, every position down the court, post up, either I got Enes Kanter or Roku on me, and we're going to play the offense if they try to help. I'm going to kick it out to the right person because I know who is open. And if they don't double me, I'm going to get my bucket. So having that, yeah, it's a much better weapon. But I think with the rebounding, I think that is a better example because it does affect the game, but also it's like it doesn't affect it that much to be like, oh, this guy's now better because he's doing this.
Yeah.
If you're doing what you're supposed to, is that not enough? Like DeMar DeRozan, for example. Somebody, again, the same conversation. They said Joel has better rebounds. Joel has almost as good as assists. But that's not DeMar's job to facilitate. DeMar, here you go. Go get a bucket for us. DeMar's not running a pick and roll. DeMar's not doing none of that. He just catches the ball. He ISOs. He gets a bucket.
You know where I might then look in that conversation is points responsible for. However, again, that's only one side of the game. If I'm in that conversation, the Joel Embiid versus DeRozan, the point that I'm bringing up, and unfortunately it's opposing you, Sivash, I'm not bringing up the rebound thing because, again, I agree with you on that. How does Joel Embiid's defense reflect his team's success versus how does DeMar's defense reflect his team's success? I think DeMar's upped his defense than he has in the past. I think he's a better defender. But that would be the argument I would go towards. Not about rebounds, because that's not fair to DeMar or that's not fair to Joel. Because again, the conversation we just had about the little Mello versus the Cat thing, it's the same thing. If whatever, you know what I'm trying to say.
And I think with the MVP thing, look, for years this whole seeding thing has been a big talk. Now, of course, the Sixers are in like the top 3, but if the Sixers weren't in the top 3, that's Joel, Giannis and them are not in the top 3, Jokic and them are not in the top 3. So then DeRozan and the Bulls being a top 3 or even number 1 seed, with everybody being injured, our 3 best defenders haven't even played together, and him just carrying us by putting up 35 points, what kind of numbers? Look, that whole time, that's all I was saying, is that without that guy, we might have been like out of the playoffs. But right now we're sitting second seed pretty.
Yeah, I want to, and DeMar's been balling. Yeah, DeMar's the main reason for that. I want to ask you guys this because we had this conversation last year, and I know where I stand. I'd like to see where you guys stand because I'm almost certain Sivash might have changed his stance. I don't know for sure though. You just mentioned the top 3, right? MVP should be top 3 or top 4. Do you guys agree with that? And Chris, I'll let you start. Because I thought last year you were a proponent of it doesn't have to be top 3. And now
I'm gonna wait for
the
Chris
sound of your whistle might be changing.
It's not changing, and I can explain it right now, but
Okay.
I'm gonna let Chris get his shit off.
Okay, yeah.
No, I think.
Do you think top 3 is an important factor? Top 4, a home seed in the
more
playoffs?
Important than the performance.
Not more important. Is it a major factor in MVP voting?
I'm pretty sure my stance on this last year was I feel like it shouldn't affect that because it's like, why should my MVP case be in jeopardy? Because, I've been balling out. I've been doing everything I can do to help this team and lead this team and take it to where it is. But just because we can't get dubs, now that affects me. And now my name is out of the running.
Because it was the Steph situation last year. Remember, Chris? Remember Steph there? The Warriors were like play and see, but it was like Steph is fucking going nuclear right now. Like, how can you not? Yeah. But I was like, I can't because he's not a winning. And I still am like that. That's still my belief.
Yeah.
But I'd just like to see how you guys think.
Here's my take. The only reason I'm going for that is keep the same energy. Steph didn't get it last year. He was going nuclear. That's best true. Season he's ever had.
I agree.
Oh, Embiid's going nuclear? Oh, where are you in the top 3 seed?
Yeah.
Keep the same energy. Yeah. Now my team is number 1. My guy, again, this is not like the Jazz last year where Gobert and like Mitchell are putting up like 25 points a game.
Yeah.
DeRozan's literally carrying us.
That's true.
There's no questions, ifs or buts about it. Our team has been riddled with injuries. Look at our defense. Our 3 best defenders, Pat Williams, Caruso, and Lonzo Ball, have not played in the past 4 months, 3 months probably. It's like, dude, and we're still winning because of this guy and the surrounding team, but this guy is going nuclear. Yeah. He's the biggest factor. So if
he's not dropping 30 every night,
he's dropping, even like in their loss with the Memphis, he dropped 31.
That's true.
Now Ja went nuclear too, respect there, but Still, if my team, so all I'm saying is if the Bulls are number one and those three other guys, Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic are out of the top three, I don't want to hear nothing about like, oh, they're going great, they're playing great. No,
That's fair.
Keep the same energy you've kept for the past, 40 years, where the only guy that was in the top three seeding was Russell Westbrook. Keep that same energy. That's all I'm asking for.
No,
Okay.
that's
fair.
true. That's fair.
That's
And that
fair.
actually, that's a perfect segue, to be honest. So I sparked up in the middle of your
I'm
thing
excited
that
for
you're
this.
talking about, just totally like we're talking about going nuclear. Like, wait, I just totally went nuclear over your point. But I had messaged in the group maybe about a week ago or a half week ago that I had a point that I wanted to bring up on the podcast, and it's something that I've been questioning lately, but really a lot this year.
And that'll be about your sexuality.
No. So we talked about Russell Westbrook and the triple double, right? And how massive it was, and you give him an MVP because he went triple double, and the next year he got a triple double, and the next year he got a triple double, and he's averaging a triple double, and he's getting triple double playing for the Lakers, and Josh Giddey's the youngest guy to ever get a triple double 3 times in a row, right before the All-Star. DeJounte Murray, my guy, is getting triple doubles. LaMelo Ball triple double. Here's my question. And I don't want to pin it all on him, but has Russell Westbrook, or has the triple-double, is its value now lower than it was before? Because we talk about how tremendous it was that Oscar Robertson did this, and then how amazing it was that Russell was doing it, and then he did it enough to average it for the whole season, and then he did it again. And now it's like Josh Giddey, who, like, respect to Josh Giddey, but like he's more famous on TikTok than he is in the basketball court. Like, and he's averaging, he gets the bottom 3 or the top 3 records for youngest player to ever get a triple double in a game. Has the value of a triple double gone down? Like, I just, like, if I'm having a conversation about a MVP and someone's like, this guy had 18 triple doubles, I don't care. Like, it's not as important to me as it was 5 years ago.
Chris?
Because it was massive when Russ was doing it, but now it's just so normal. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, because I literally initially I just shook my head, and be like, no, like the value of the triple double hasn't gone down, because it's like, essentially every time I play, if I was on a basketball team, every game I play, I potentially have the chance to get a triple double. It's like it's always there. So it's whether I get one, first week or fucking 10 years down the road, I finally get triple doubles, whatever. It's like it's always there. But I guess now thinking about it, with you mentioning Russ constantly averaging a triple double for an entire season, and he's made a triple double, like, so that
and that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's like that feat is amazing, that you average one an entire season. But it's like, yeah, it's almost like the frequency at which we are seeing, oh, Russ triple double, cool, whatever. Russ triple double, yeah, it's whatever. And now you see, like you said, like LaMelo, other people triple double, you just kind of slump it off. It's like, oh, sick, yeah, whatever. They got triple double, no big deal. But I feel like if Russ didn't get them with the frequency that he did and average that, then yeah, maybe it still might be more of a big deal. I think it's just like that, similar to like kind of like voters fatigue that we were getting with like Gobert. It's just like we see it so much that we're just kind of like, triple double, no big deal.
You know what it is? I'm just gonna jump in before Steve actually go in, and this is a terrible example. But this is the first one that popped in my mind. There's like a school shooting in America every single day.
Okay,
there's been one.
What the fuck?
But this is what I'm saying.
We're gonna backpedal.
I gotta remove this part.
People in news are desensitized to murder.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying to say. They're desensitized to this. So in the same sense, I feel like the NBA might be desensitized to a triple double because it happens so often. That's my comparison. Again, I know, terrible, worst thing. I don't know what. There's the first thing.
You know what? You didn't have to start with school shooting. You could have just said violence in general.
I probably should have led into it.
People are desensitized to violence and stuff like that. Like, it's no big deal for somebody to be like, back in the day, you get kids watching these crazy videos, like, oh my god, and then parents would freak out, and you'd just like, oh, it's no big deal. Whatever.
Yeah, so I just think that the league might be desensitized to the Russell West, or not the Russell Westbrook, but the triple double in general. Again, it's still an impressive thing. Like the stat was something like in his career, I think Michael Jordan had 18 triple doubles, and then Jokic this year has like 13. And it's like, so that's where I started thinking of it. I was like, true. Like, and again, I know the 90s is a long way away from 5 years ago, but 5 years ago is when we started to see that evolution more so. So I don't know. That's just a thought that came to my mind. But Sivash, go ahead.
Sorry if I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to pull
You're
up
good.
like the specific stat because this has been talked about a lot in the past few years, how the pace of the game has changed. We saw
That's
it like
true.
be a very fast-paced game back in 06, 07 with the 7 seconds or less Suns.
Hmm.
Now, if you compare them, they're probably like bottom 3 in pacing when it comes
That's
to
true.
today's league. And I'm just looking at like the averages of the past 20 years. Back in like 2005 or 6, you could get 90 positions per 48 minutes.
Oh, dude,
For a
the
team.
scores would be like 72 to 91. Like,
That's what I'm saying, right? Like the field goal attempts was like 79 attempts a game. Now you get 100 possessions per game, and the field goal attempts is like over 80 or 90. So you look at it, and again, this is league average. If you go to
Yeah.
the best teams, it's probably like way higher than like what
Sure.
the league average is, right? With that said, I think it's just the league, the way it went, you found like these to be more common. As you said, the voters fatigue, us just seeing it more
Yeah.
common. I look at it nowadays, sometimes a player gets like 50 points. I'm like, okay, how many assists or rebounds? Like that 50 points is not enough.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
we have
true.
seen, like we've become
That's true.
desensitized because like James Harden was putting up 60-point triple doubles
Mhm.
for like years in Houston, and we were just like, oh yeah, that's just James right there. Oh yeah, that's just Braun putting up 43 and triple double in the playoffs and the finals. No, that's just
Yeah.
LeBron. It's
Yeah.
just become so common, and at some point we just stopped looking at it because we also realized that it doesn't define the game if you don't win.
You're right, because like you brought up like you only had this many assists, you only had this many rebounds. Like I just had a bet on De'Aaron Fox probably about a week ago. I had him to get a double double. Because again, I'll bet on triple doubles because they come so often. But I had him to get a double double, and he put up 24 points. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I looked, and I was like, why does he have 3 assists? Why does he have 2 rebounds? Like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, you're a point guard. Like, do you not do this? And then I was like, well, yeah. Why am I being greedy? Just put up 24 points. Like, that's good. But no, it's a good
That's,
point.
and I don't know, maybe we can get into our takes that we got kind of mentioned this before, is that, man, stats are just overrated. Analytics are just, at some point we got to stop looking at these, and like that's what we're doing with betting. I did that with like fantasy. I stopped playing fantasy just because of that, because I was just bringing down these people to the numbers. I'm looking at
True.
it like this player just put up 23 a game. Like, what does that mean? It's like, no, bro, go watch a game. This guy is not even trying. He's just going with the flow of the game. He's getting certain shots and he's just shooting them. He's efficient. The stats don't define everything.
That's true.
I think analytics just have put us in a position. Now we're getting to a good point, but the past few years, I think it put us in a bad position where we're judging players for what they aren't when they could be better. Like with Demar, with all these guys that just could be better players if you just took out the analytics part and just let them be good at what they're good at.
Yeah. The eye test will always have its place in sports for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. Take of the week. Let's get into some spicy. Let's get into some salty, but let's get into the takes of the week. I think Sivash is, or not Sivash. I think Chris was just crunching on something right there. So if you are ready to talk after your quick little snack, let us know. Do you have a take of the week?
I don't really have one because, like I said, I didn't really get too much time to watch basketball, so I'm catching up on a lot of things. I'm seeing highlights from stuff. I'm seeing catching all the players' terrible reactions to these dunk competitions, All-Star Weekend in general. Catching the memes because I saw the memes, but I didn't get the memes, So I'm just playing catch up. Wow, I'm playing catch up.
It's like if somebody didn't watch that dunk competition when Dwayne Wade had the glasses thing, they would be like, "Why is Dwayne Wade all over the internet?
Why does everybody hate Dwayne Wade?"
Chris, let me throw something for you. When you were watching the players play in Turkey,
mm-hmm.
do you think there could ever be a situation where one of those teams can be the NBA team? Whether today's league or past few years, a team that was really, really bad, your pick, you think any of those European League teams can beat an NBA team in one game?
Definitely, yes. Because there are a lot of players in the NBA today who don't deserve a job in the NBA, and they've just somehow they've come into the league, and it's just been good. They've been able to coast, and they've just been able to be there. I've just been lucky to be there. Whether I've seen a lot of other like hardworking like players in some of these like Euro games, that's like, you know what, you could definitely take this man's job if given the opportunity to take this man's job, but you haven't been given that opportunity. So, kind of right time, wrong place kind of thing, But there are definitely teams that could crunch an NBA team, especially some of the lower seeded teams.
So they should just do like a game of bump. They should do a game of bump to see if
they stay in the league.
Yeah. Bump to see if you get in the league right now.
Right.
That'd be so funny.
I don't know, man. I disagree. I do think the guys out in the Euro League and like other leagues outside the NBA are very talented. I think the guy on the worst basketball league in the world is like the best like YMCA player we will ever see. Right? I do believe that. But I think there might be a bit of a gap between those guys and the starting lineup of, let's say, the Magic.
Let's use the Pistons.
Sure.
No.
The Pistons who just beat who did they just beat? I think the Memphis. They just beat somebody off a buzzer beater. So think about it. They beat some of the best teams in the league.
Houston? No, Houston's got 15 wins. And they beat the Lakers.
And that's what I mean, right? Like, worst teams get to beat some of the best teams.
Yeah.
Because I think the talent is not about like the talent. I think talent is like comparable. But I think it's more about like, and going back to something we've talked about before, why Jello Ball is not in the league. It's not about his talent. It's about the schemes that the league gets to play. These guys can be the best players on their own, but when you come into a league of the best, they will play schemes on you, and you have to be on top of your game defensively and offensively on every position to be able to survive and be able to actually win.
I'll tell you what. In a 7-game series, I bet you that team wins one.
I think so too, for sure.
Because like the biggest disservice you can do yourself in any sport, but especially in basketball, and we've seen it. We see it a lot. But playing down to your competition. The Suns enter the Rockets arena. They actually just happened with them against OKC. You go into the arena and you dismiss your opponent. You've already lost the game. Once you start dismissing your opponent, it doesn't matter where you are. If you start playing down to your opponent, that opponent is playing up to you. So I don't know. I would think that maybe a team, let's just say the Magic, would go in there and be like, it's fucking turkey league.
Well, I mean, you always see it too. Like when we get into like Olympic level basketball, and you have these other countries beating Team USA. Team USA should always be the most dominant team there, but then you'll see them get clapped by like Argentina or something like that, right? It's like, what's going on?
I'll tell you what.
Here we go.
Tell me what, Tobias. Tell me what.
One of those turkey teams, I guarantee you would win 2 games against the Lakers. Because of defense.
All right.
Because of defense, bro. There was a game last night. There was a 5-on-1. This is not hockey. Dwight Howard was the only guy that got back. This is not hockey.
Did you see LeBron turn it on and beat the Utah Jazz? I think it was last week or before the All-Star.
I did. I had a bet on that, so I was hoping that he would do that. So I like LeBron when I like LeBron. I don't like LeBron when I don't want LeBron.
God, it's like I look at the names. I see you, as in me. I see Siavash Gorbani, but then now when I look in the middle, it looks like it says Tobias Bayless. It's weird.
Bayless. I wish. I wish, bro.
Maybe you are. You know what? You should do another little 23andMe and get like a paternity test for him. Because you might be a long
DNA from Skip.
I've already started the email Skip and Son proposal. Skip and Son. Think about that show. Fox Sports, call us right now. Skip and Son. There we go.
So like a 20-hour dick writing of MJ every week.
Yeah. And just slander to Scottie Pippen. Not even LeBron. We can handle LeBron, but slander to Scottie Pippen.
Did you guys see that MJ giving, or sorry, Skip Bayless giving his like top 10 NBA 75 players, and he had LeBron at 9?
Come on. That's what I saw, and I was like, I was with Terry, and I was like, shut the fuck up. And he's like, what? And I was like, bro, that is disrespectful.
That's
that
too
is
okay.
disrespectful.
Fuck it, let's get into it. So, give us your take of the week, because me and Chris got to have a conversation about what he was talking to us from Turkey about Kobe not being top 5.
Okay, well, yeah. My take of the week, I'll make it quick, and we talked about it briefly, and it does have to do a bit with the MVP race. The Western Conference, that 4 seed pack that we were looking at, it's kind of a 3 seed pack right now. It's just Phoenix, Golden State, and Memphis. I think that's gonna open up a lot more. I don't know if the Phoenix Suns finish with the number 1 seed. I think losing Chris Paul is really gonna affect them. I think, I touched on it a bit earlier. I think in terms of leadership, I think Devin Booker's definitely learned a lot. But in terms of playmaking and defense, I think that's going to affect them a lot. We could see Golden State take over the number 1 seed. We could see Memphis take over the number 1 seed. But I think Utah's kind of out of that race. They're just trying to stay ahead of Dallas so Tope can win some money against Chris. But yeah, that's my take. I just think that the Chris Paul loss for the Suns is going to be detrimental, because I'm pretty sure it's going into the playoffs. He won't come back until it's like early playoffs. So yeah, that's my take.
He was playing with a strap on his hand in the All-Star game too, which is crazy.
Yeah, how did you feel? Like, I know you didn't watch the All-Star stuff, but that's a little PTSD for you, Chris. Remember when Kyle Lowry went to the All-Star game, but he was like bandaged up, and then comes back and it's like, oh, Kyle Lowry's out. Oh,
yeah, no.
Thanks for going.
Thanks, appreciate it. Good times. Fucking.
I get it. Like, enjoy the festivities and go, and like, especially like for a year like this with the 75th, you want to be hanging around those guys. But like, bro, you don't need to play or like do anything. Like, you can just sit there. But yeah, that is my take. Now we got. I wasn't on the call, but I could tell because I looked at the time and I looked at his story. We got a very drunken phone call from Chris.
Oh, let me tell you, bro.
Tell us about it, because you were on the call. So you tell me what happened, because I'm a listener at this point.
Yeah. So for our listeners, including Tobias, we have a group chat that we get like a call where somebody's trying to place a call for everybody. 9 times out of 10, I'm around because I work from home, whatever. I can pick it up. I'm at work and I pick it up and it's just Chris drunk as hell. He's just like, yo, talk to me. Is Kobe top 5? I'm just laughing, right? I'm like,
can you hear him at all, or is like the music going too much?
We were in a shisha lounge, so like the music wasn't terribly loud.
It was dark, but he was lit.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, where's Tobias for this one? This would have been great, right? So he's like, yo, talk. Is he top 5 all time? I'm like, yeah. No, he's like, get the fuck out of here. He's like, you don't know anything, and he just hangs up. And we start texting after, and I'm like, yo, where was Tobias for this, man? Like, this shit is perfect,
bro. Like I said, we were in that shisha lounge, and we were all so drunk and having this discussion that we were all.
How does this come up? How does this come up?
I can't remember.
We're hanging out.
We were, I think, because was this maybe. There might have been a ball game or something on like TV or whatever, and we're all watching it or whatever. And then there's actually one of the other Canadian guys that's there, like kind of like brought it up or something, talking about like top 5. Or we started talking about Kobe or whatever, and somebody's like, "Oh yeah, Kobe's like easily like number 4, number 3," and it's like, "Oh, if you don't have it going as like LeBron, Michael, Kobe, you're wild." I was like, "Bro, like Kobe's not.
I'm wild. I'm really wild. Then
I'm like Kobe's not top 5. I was like, Kobe's maybe 6. Kobe's like 6, 7, but he's not top 5. And they're just like, you're wild, you're crazy. And then like, the argument got like so heated that like it wasn't an argument, but just debate that like security came upstairs because they thought we were fighting. Because we're like we're like slamming on tables, being like,
these people are so loud.
Yeah. That stuff. And I was just like, no. And I was like, if you look at like the players, like obviously not like really like super ranking. Like actually no, the 1 and 2 interchangeable. I
wish I was in this conversation.
I myself would have LeBron James, then Michael Jordan, and then I'd probably have Kareem, Magic, and then I would have Shaq, then Kobe.
Yeah, get the fuck out.
Interesting.
It's what I would have.
Okay, here's the thing. We have had this conversation before, and I think it's a consensus agreement that the top 7 and I think the top 4 is acceptable. That it's MJ, LeBron, interchangeable, Kareem, Magic.
You notice he said MJ first. He did say interchangeable, but he said MJ first.
Whatever. But it's like after that, it's anybody between Kobe, Shaq, Bill Russell, Wilt, and maybe Tim Duncan.
Are you talking?
You're not include like Larry Bird?
Larry Bird's not top 7 or top 8.
Sorry. What'd you just say? You said outside of the top 2, it's those guys.
Outside the top 4.
Okay, say your top.
Kareem and Magic are the top 4. Those are the top 4, and then Shaq, Kobe, Bill Russell, Wilt, Tim, Larry. I think is a tier below.
I'll tell you this: Larry's not my top 5, but that man gets insanely disrespected. Insanely, he's top 10.
I agree. He's definitely top 10. No disrespect there.
Yeah.
Okay, so then for me, and we've talked about this before, I just start breaking it down. Wilt, for sure, makes a lot of people's top 5, but he's too much of a myth.
I don't have.
And the career wasn't long enough. The career,
and he has one championship. I know that's not everything, but with one championship.
Right. So for me, he falls out of that top. So now we're down top 7. The next guy for me, listen, bro, I'm a big Shaq fan. But Shaq has 4 rings. Kobe has 5. They won some of them together. Fair. But I think everybody was like, yo, they were right there, right next to each other when they were winning. And then each of them have 1 MVP. And from there, it just goes to the personal accolades. Like Kobe has more All-Stars. Kobe has the points, all that. To me, Kobe gets a little bit of edge. I love Shaq. Shaq's probably my favorite center of all time.
Ain't no way.
You know what it is? You know what it is for me? If we were going to compare Kobe and Shaq, whatever. Why Shaq's not top 5 for me? He could have been the greatest player of all time. He could have been the greatest player of all time. Probably the most dominant player we've ever seen.
Is the most dominant. Name me a more dominant player. Name me a more dominant player than Shaq.
Fair enough.
Wilt might have that conversation, but I guess Shaq still.
Ain't no way.
So the reason why I don't have him top 5, when it's all said and done, as dominant as he is, I can stop him by fouling because I know he goes to the line and he misses.
Yeah, but you know what?
I'm gonna
say this. Since Kobe's death, so many fucking people have now moved Kobe up. Because now what you wait till Kobe dies to now give him his flowers? No, if while he was alive, Kobe wasn't making your top 5, now that he's dead, he doesn't deserve to be in your top 5
I disagree.
now.
Because
he's dead?
A lot of people
he's
do
died?
that.
So then
I do agree a lot of people have done that, but I remember watching conversations of people having Kobe over LeBron before his death, before his unfortunate passing. Right?
Okay.
Right? But this is what I mean, right? Like
I've heard of that, but rare. Yes, I've heard of that, but rare.
Yeah, I do agree that it did happen like that, where the myth of Kobe, and again, his unfortunate passing did up his position, but I still think when we look at accolades, I think it's a tough conversation.
Okay, hold on. Going back to the Kobe thing, I totally agree. I just saw a video this past week where someone had Kobe as number 1. They had LeBron as number 5. They had Michael as number 3. I said, "What is this?" And then again, this is like the Lob It Up Podcast.
What do they have as 2?
I can't remember. I think it was either Kareem or Wilt. Yeah, it was really weird. Anyways, I had this conversation with Tarek, and I was like, the same thing that we're having now, the same thing we've been talking about since he passed. Kobe is a great player. I know people that have Kobe outside of their top 10. I have him obviously inside. I know. I saw your eyes go wide. But unfortunately, how we lost him and how soon we lost him is affecting how people perceive him and his all-time ranking. Unfortunately, he is one of the greatest players of all time. Kobe Bryant is not a top 3 player of all time. He's not a top 3 player. Sure. He's a top 7 player. I don't know if he's top 5. For me, he's in between that window. He's 3 to 7. He's not top 3 because there's other guys there that have done more.
Okay,
And
and this is what I wanted to get to, and we went through it, so we talked about it. Out of the four, so it's MJ or LeBron, Magic, Kareem, and again, those I messed it up. Kareem or Magic, you can go which way. From the 5th to the 7th, now we're left with Kobe, Bill Russell, and Tim Duncan.
And I'll tell you who I probably have next.
I know you do, and that's where I want to talk about it. So let's get to Bill Russell first.
Okay.
Do you guys think Bill Russell's top 5? And I
this
think
is such a
I'm
difficult conversation.
Exactly.
It's Kobe
because
Kobe hasn't been inducted to the Hall of Fame yet, right?
He did last year.
Just recently.
Last year. Okay, yeah.
With KG. The thing with Bill Russell that is so difficult is you cannot argue 11 championships. You cannot argue 11 championships. However, that can't be your only argument. That's where I'm like, I don't know.
See, that's why I hate it. But when people say like we gotta look at accolades for stuff like that, and you gotta compare shit like that, you gotta do this, because like you said, like what Bill Russell has like 10 championships,
11,
yeah. By that standard, he's like, oh, this guy's the greatest fucking player of all time.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that standard, you can pick role players who won with him. As
Robert Horry won 7 championships.
But we're not doing that, right?
But then again, it's like if you look at Kobe's accolades, what did he get? Like
5
96, 97 all rookie selection, 18 all-star selections, 15 all NBA selections, 15 all NBA selections, 12 all defensive selections, 2-time scoring champion, 2007, 2008 most MVP, 5-time NBA champion, and 2-time NBA Finals MVP.
And what is his ranking in the all-time points?
And then you compare that to Shaq, where Shaq got Rookie of the Year, 92, 93. And then same thing, all rookie selection, 15 all-star selection, 14 all NBA selection, 3 times all defensive selection, 2-time league scoring leader, 99, 2000 league MVP, 4-time NBA champion, 3-time finals MVP, and a Hall of Famer and Hall of Famer too. Like, dang.
He didn't get a TPOY, right? He never got a TPOY.
No. And also right that, I think you just said like Kobe has more all defensive. Kobe has more all NBA. Kobe has more all stars.
Then
Shaq has Shaq.
Okay.
And Shaq does have that one more finals MVP. But again, everybody says that they were right there with each other when they were playing. So you can have that over him, but Kobe has a few more things over Shaq.
But it's like, if you look at like dominance, things like that, and if you're gonna ask me to pick one or the other and build a franchise of like same players, I'm picking Shaq.
Disagree.
I'm picking Shaq.
No. But hold on. I know, and I know that's not the point you're trying to make, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
To determine the grade, like our ranking, it's not who. If I had to pick who I want to franchise, it's based on the things that happen. Yeah,
Kyrie Irving.
I would take Patrick Beverly.
Go to finals every year.
Yeah. Don't worry, guys. I'll see you guys I'll see you in the finals with Chris Boucher.
Okay, so
go back to Bill Russell.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go back to Bill Russell. Another thing that we talk about Bill Russell outside of the rings, when Bill Russell was playing, there was no all defensive was no defensive player of the year award. There was no all defense award. These things that are being measured today, they weren't being measured for him, even though the guy is known as one of the best defenders of all time.
He was a 5-time MVP as well. I'm just looking.
That's tough, bro. So again, you can have your opinion, but going off of that, I think Bill Russell's right there for me at 5.
Okay.
But then this is a tough conversation between me and Toby.
Yeah.
Tim Duncan is not making a top 5, brother.
Okay, so like when I look at Tim Duncan, he was one of the most dominant players in his era, right? He won in 3 different decades. He has 5 championships. He's been 15-time All-NBA, 15-time All-Defensive. The one thing that I knock on Tim Duncan for is he never won a DPOY, but he wasn't that guy. 3-time Finals MVP. If I'm comparing, I don't have Bill Russell there. I'm usually comparing with Kobe. And Kobe and Tim Duncan, that's a really good comparison. Besides the position, we're talking same era, so it's actually nice to compare. It's neck and neck. I don't shame anybody if they take Kobe over Tim. I just look at that, and then I also think about position. He's the most dominant power forward of all time. And again, I'm not saying that you can't have 5 shooting guards as your 5 greatest players of all time, But there's a shooting guard better than Kobe Bryant. There's no other power forward better than Tim Duncan.
There is okay, I do agree with
And
that.
I should say that shooting guard better than Kobe Bryant is also Michael Jordan, and he's literally a clone of him.
Literally, which people compare to have Kobe as the greatest, but they always say Jordan did it better.
And that's why I'll be honest with you, probably in the last month, I've accepted the possibility of Kobe possibly being top 5. But as of right now, I don't. But the argument is for me, because he's so similar to Mike, and if I've got Mike as number 1, and Kobe's literally got basically the same accolades except for a championship, a couple MVPs, and a DPOY, then how big of a difference is that between him and Mike? Obviously, multiple rankings. Like, he's not going to pass LeBron. But
yeah, and that's where I like this combo, because it's tough. We look at it. We've always had this conversation where there's a clear consensus top 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. Larry's probably the 9th, 10th. You can throw in whoever like Hakeem, or I'm probably missing someone else too.
Yeah,
but again, like those top 4 guys, no question. Magic,
I just saw a list and somebody had Kevin Durant in there. It's like 9.
People do sometimes.
Bro,
I get it.
Remember, shout out Eric Townsend. That guy fucking told me 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
I remember this.
He fucking told me that Kobe Bryant was not top 10. I said, well, no, he said he wasn't top 15. I said, okay, where is he? And he gives me the list. I'm like, you tell me 14 or 15 people that come ahead of him. He got to 13. He said, okay, Kobe's 13th all time. Brother, he had fucking Manu Ginobili ahead of Kobe Bryant. Manu Ginobili?
Yeah,
he had Westbrook.
Eric.
I'm not even going to talk about Westbrook or AD that he had at him.
Wow,
Ginobili? What?
Shout out Eric, man. That's the best one I've heard ever. It's like having Manu ahead of Kobe.
So Chris,
yes.
What is your top 5 then?
What I listed there. So I had LeBron, Jordan, Kareem, Magic, and Shaq.
Siavash?
Those top 4 for sure. LeBron, Magic, Jordan, Kareem. And I'm not doing it like a ranking. I'm just saying the names. And the 5th one, again, I think I got Kobe right now, but Bill Russell is tough. Like that. And again, it's a whole thing with like him playing back in the day that makes it a little bit more difficult, but 11 championships, bunch of like all defensive stuff that didn't even get counted in.
That's true.
He's tough. It's difficult for me between those two. Tim Duncan and Shaq are definitely not making top 5, but it's right now Kobe and then Bill Russell.
Yeah. I'd probably go Mike, LeBron, Kareem. Again, you can't argue with Magic, what Magic was doing too. Magic's top 4. And then Kobe, Tim are tied. I would probably I'd probably have Shaq above Bill Russell.
Yeah. And again, with Tim, it's just like he was part of a dynasty. He was playing with the same coach over and over, and he was able to fit in and just play his position at times. Like one of the finals MVP, like Tony Parker. Right? It just makes it a bit difficult, but at the end of the day, I think Kobe just beats him in a lot of stats, especially for me. Kobe being a top 4 in points all time, it's not a small feat for me. I think that's
true, but again, we just talked about this in terms of position and stuff. What about I don't know, but where's Tim in rebounds? Where's the Kobe Where's Kobe and Tim comparison in assists? I don't know. Like Kobe might be higher. I actually don't know, but
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like again,
comparing the positions is tough.
Exactly. Points is good, yeah. But Kobe's likely to have more points. And Kobe fucking shot the ball like a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I think that group of people everyone can understand, except for the blasphemous takes of people saying Kobe's out of their top 10 or Manu Ginobili's better than Kobe. Like I don't get it. Okay. Do we want to move off that conversation? All right, Siavash, you mentioned a bit ago, it might have been in the first part, I can't remember, you mentioned the inside source that you have in Bill Simmons. Mentioned an expansion coming in within the next 6 years. You mentioned Seattle, which thank God, bro, they need a franchise. Get the Supersonics back there, and Vegas, which obviously you gotta tap into that market. And Vegas is massive. And then you talked about, because LeBron has ownership in Liverpool right now, and same owners or similar connects are within this Vegas organization.
So I think we talked about this in like the between the episodes, so I'm not sure if we did get it on, but I was just listening to Bill Simmons' podcast again. Shout out to him. He was saying that he has inside sources that there is expansion teams coming next 5 to 6 years, most likely Seattle and Vegas. Now, there might be a chance that Pelicans could be moved, so it could be 31 teams or it could be 2 new teams. Regardless, the organization, I forgot the team name, but the organization that has ownership with the Liverpool has the rights for one of those expansions. And Bill Simmons thinks, and he says he's willing to go on record with this, that there is a chance that LeBron could play for that team and or be an owner of that team moving forward, because the cost of these new teams are not going to be as much as buying ownership into a new team or a team that's already existing.
So my ears perk up because you mentioned the name LeBron. And this is what I'm thinking. And it's not what you're thinking. Trust me. This is what I'm thinking. We just watched LeBron, and like you mentioned, go on a press tour for the All-Star, right? And what was he talking about a lot of the time when he was going on this little press tour, Steve Ash?
A lot of GMs praising Sam Presti and the picks, and then talking about Kobe Altman. And then after the picks, he brought up something about wanting to play with his son whichever team drafts him.
Interesting.
And they say he's pushing P. He's pushing P out or something like that.
He did say that.
I don't know.
Yeah. Here's what I think. And again, I've got no basis this literally just came to my mind.
It's all opinion.
So you said within the next 6 years it's likely to happen. Bronny James, I think, is in grade 10 right now.
I think 11.
2 more years, grade 11, grade 10. 2 more years, let's say, and he's in college. And right now, it's currently still the one and done process. We don't know if Bronny is a one and done player. However, I guarantee you that he is a one and done player because LeBron said that whatever team drafts his son, LeBron will join. So now that's guaranteed Bronny James Jr. a spot in the NBA. Now, if we're looking 2 years, possibly 3 years into the future, that's within 6 years. That's potential. So we could see an expansion team. An expansion teams to try to give them, a boost of confidence or to give them a chance to kind of get, their wheels underneath them. They usually get a top end pick. Usually a lottery pick, top 10. So LeBron's got connects in Vegas with this organization. And Bronny might be drafted within the next 3 years. And LeBron wants to play with his son. I wonder, because he said he'll go to whatever team. And I don't really want to see LeBron in an Orlando jersey. I don't want to see LeBron in an OKC jersey. LeBron in Vegas would be pretty fucking cool. LeBron James and Bronny Jr. in Vegas? Talk about ticket sales.
The tour for the Fairbird tour? Like, come on, man. Kobe did that and made bank.
Talk about ticket sales, man. I'm just saying. I think that would be the perfect scenario. And like you said, then LeBron can also get in with the ownership. Interesting. That's all I'm saying. Interesting.
Yeah, Vegas is big. Like, I could only imagine like the money that they're gonna try to put into that because of just like, man, the area and like imagine somebody like James Harden playing for those teams. Like,
just using
the strip club business.
Yeah, just using recent expansion news, like the NHL a couple years ago, they just expanded to Seattle, but they expanded to Las Vegas, and they were the first ones to do that out of the 4 major. They were before the NFL with the Raiders going to Las Vegas, and dude, they are like people speak so highly of that facility. Like they've got like pre-game shows where like there's knights in like armor fighting on the ice, and there's like a light show on the ice. Like they do it big in Vegas. So yeah,
God, that's Vegas, bro.
Yeah, it'll be massive. I mean, I've never been. You've been, so can you imagine? Like you saw all those lights. Like, can you imagine the Vegas and LeBron? Like, dude, I think that's a perfect pairing. You think fuck the Lakers
ridiculous.
and LeBron, Vegas and LeBron, bro.
Because everybody goes to LA, but when you go to Vegas, you want to do something big. You just go there once a year, once every few years.
And
hey,
listen,
whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So you might as well go out big for the pre-shows, the halftime shows, make it an experience.
Mm-hmm. Listen, and Vegas, there's a lot of money there. They have no shame in throwing money in the way of the LeBron James family. So, and it's in Nevada. Nevada's right near California, not far away from Savannah.
And if you're in Las Vegas, you want a team there because it brings in more attraction. You already got all the casino, you already got the lifestyle. Now bring in a team so somebody wants to come see this guy as well as be out here. It brings in more of an attraction. Why not?
Yeah. That would be interesting. If that actually happens, we're clipping this and we're saying Lob It Up called it. We're saying.
I mean, Bill Simmons called it, but we expanded on that.
We expanded it. Yeah.
We're bringing it to the people.
Yeah, exactly. We speak to the blue collar people. Okay, so that's all I have. Again, just wanted to touch on that Vegas and LeBron possible scenario. Chris or Seabash, are there any more points? I know we covered so much in these 2 episodes, but is there anything else we need to speak about before we sign off until next week?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up a conversation about how LeBron's better than Jordan. I'm kidding. We got nothing else to talk about.
We don't have time for that, buddy.
We don't have time.
We've already been at this for almost 3 hours, so we're not going to do it another time.
Next week.
That's true. All right. Well, thank you for listening to another episode of the Lob It Up Podcast. We are your hosts, Tobias, Seabash, and Chris. I almost called myself Chris. But until the next one, peace.
Haters want to be me.
They hate us till they
hate us.
They hate us
because they didn't get anus.
Yo.